So, let's start from the beginning because Shogun's story does not start with an empire, it starts with a soldier. Shogun was not born a demon, he was not royalty, he was a warlord, a military commander who served the Prince of Ivory City. And even the name Shogun is not actually his name, it is a Japanese title that means military leader. That is literally all he was at the start, a man who followed orders. But then, Widow showed up. She was dangerous, not because of brute strength, but because she knew exactly how to manipulate. She came to Shogun with a deal. If he served her, she would hand over the Sphere of Oblivion, a powerful magical object that could turn him into the kind of warlord no one would ever take orders from again. Shogun said yes, and the moment he did, he betrayed the man he was sworn to protect. He set three things in motion. He had Butcher to kidnap the prince and get him out of the picture. He had Hermit to secretly train his soldiers in the background, and then he waited for Widow to deliver the sphere. What he did not count on was the prince being smarter than he looked. The prince quietly made his own deal with Butcher, paid him in gold for his freedom and the location of the sphere. Butcher took the money and let him walk. Shogun had no idea. The prince slipped away, found Widow, and took the sphere before it even reached Shogun. Shogun moved to stop him, and he failed. And that is when everything went wrong for both of them. The sphere did not make the prince powerful, it destroyed him. The moment he held it, his mind broke completely, and in the broken state, he turned on Shogun, ordering his death and using the sphere to reach directly into Shogun's mind and take control of him like a puppet. It was Sensei who stepped in and fought the mind control Shogun, eventually breaking the sphere's hold on him. The moment Shogun came back to himself, he gave one order: execute the prince. With the prince dead and no one left to contest him, Shogun walked into Ivory City and claimed it as his own. By the time Shadow shows up in the Act 6, Shogun is not just a warlord anymore, he runs an empire. His 5 bodyguards are a good sign on how his mind works. They have no personal names, they are ranked officers: corporal, captain, major, colonel, and general. That is it. With the people closest to him are defined entirely by their function. Ivory City itself, though, is not doing great. The influence of the Gates of Shadows has turned the land around it into a wasteland. The city is not the proud capital it once was. It is burning and broken. When Shadow and his team arrive, they run into a strange problem. Each of Shogun's officers is convinced that Shadow is the missing prince and the one who was supposed to have been killed years ago. One officer passes this belief to the next, all the way up the chain of command. Shogun himself orders General to hunt down and destroy the rebel claiming to be the prince. General assembles the crew of hired fighters. Shadow goes through all of them and then through General. And then he's finally standing in front of Shogun. Shogun fights him thinking he's the prince. He loses. He's not happy about it. He hands over the Jet Seal, the final seal that Shadow needs. But his part in the story is not over yet. When Shadow brings together all 6 demon seeds to close the Gates of Shadows, the demons refuse to let it happen. They line up to stop him, and the Shogun is the 6th and last in the line. His bodyguards fight alongside him. It is still not enough. The gates close. Then May gets pulled in as the shell, and Shadow has to reopen them, which means going through every demon again. Shogun faces him one more time in the interlude. Before they fight, he lays it out plainly. This empire is his. If those gates open again, Titan gets out and everything Shogun has built gets taken from him. He cannot let that happen. He fights and he loses again. And in his very last words, he tells Shadow to hurry up and go. Because there is not much time left before Titan tears everything apart. That is Shogun's full arc in Shadow Fight 2. A soldier who wanted more, got it by betrayal, and then watched Shadow dismantle piece by piece. After the events of Shadow Fight 2, Shogun has made his way into Shadow Fight 4, and he came in as a Legendary Herald hero. And if anything tells you how Neki sees this character, it is this. He is described as the most terrifying of all the demons. But what really makes his arena appearance interesting is who he brings with him. In battle, Shogun uses an enslaved servant at his side. and the servant is none other than the Prince of Ivory City, the very man whose death gave Shogun his empire in the first place. Think about that for a second. The prince, the one who's kidnapping Shogun against, the one whose execution Shogun ordered, is now fighting for him, enslaved by his own former commander. How exactly this happened? We do not know yet. The story has not been fully told, but it is clearly going somewhere, and I will be making a follow-up video the moment we get more content. There is also a very real chance Shogun appears in the Shadow Fight Shakes or Shadow Fight 3, which could fill in exactly what happened between the end of Shadow Fight 2 and his arena appearance. One more thing worth noting, Shogun is the first Shadow Fight 2 demon to show up in the arena with a completely different signature weapon. Every other demon kept their original weapons, Shogun did not. He left his Daisho behind and came back with a Nodachi. Same warlord, new blade.